Okay, good afternoon, everyone, and welcome to this first breakout session of the afternoon, which is going to be focusing on station experience. So we're going to be talking all about how we work with our stations as the gateways to cities, gateways to our railways, and how we can really use the stations to their most value to attract more passengers to rail, more users to rail. And so if you've not met me before today, my name's Lucie Anderton, and I lead on sustainability at the International Union of Railways, and I will be moderating this conversation with this fabulous panel here today. And so we're going to have 3 short presentations just to kick off the discussion, but then we'll have a panel conversation. I'll kick off with 1 or 2 questions, but I'd really like you to be thinking about what questions you'd like to ask our panel, and really to get a nice lively debate and discussion going as much as possible. Okay, so I shall introduce you. Furthest away there is Astrid Bunt. Welcome, Astrid. Astrid is Head of Stations for ProRail. And I'll ask you to introduce yourself, tell us a little bit about that when you start your presentation, if that's all right, Astrid. And Sebastien de Rose, welcome. And Astrid, excuse me, not Astrid. Sebastien comes from Grandi, Stazioni retail, so from Italy. And here we have Johan Berhin, who's you may have tried the beautiful seating that's out there at the moment. So works for Green Furniture. Thank you. So welcome. And also online we have our 4th panelist as well. Do we have Johan Gunnarsson online?
I'm online.
We can hear you. Welcome, Johan.
Thank you.
Okay, so we're going to start with our first presentation with Astrid, if that's okay. We'll get straight into it. If we have Astrid's slides.
Let's go. Well, let's just start. I'll just start talking, and the slides will follow any second.
Go for it.
I'm so happy to be here and to see some really old friends around. Hello. And to meet some new friends like you both. So it's good and great to be here. I'll tell something a little bit about myself for the people who don't know me yet, and then I'll quickly have a few slides to take you along how we try to seduce passengers and possible travelers in our stations and in the trains. This is, for your information, on this slide, you see the beautiful station of Rotterdam. That's the one I suggested to you to come and visit. It's one of our newest iconic stations in the Netherlands. From the outside, it's completely made of metal, so it's shiny, and from the inside, the roof is completely from wood. And it's one of my favorite stations in the Netherlands. And this slide is the slide where I was born. It's in Eindhoven, the city where Philips was born, and you see the statue of Anton Philips. He's the founding father of Philips, which you might know. And I think this is where my love for the stations started, because this is also an iconic historic station, which is built in the figure of a radio station. So a radium, an old radio machine, and that's where it started. But later on, my love for the rail was further born, because my mom, she's from Denmark, and we used to travel to Denmark always by night train, and that was such an adventure to meet people all over the world in these trains. It was a big excitement. And that's where my love for this rail industry was born, I think. And today I have the privilege of contributing to the world and making it a little bit a better place from ProRail. And ProRail is, maybe you know, is the Dutch rail infrastructure manager in the Netherlands. And from this company, we are busy with dealing with all the tracks and all the train stations in the Netherlands. And we have beautiful corporate movies about that, but I decided just to take one slide to take you along with some key figures of our stations. We have only 400 stations. I don't know how many there are in Germany around here. Does anybody know how many train stations there are in Germany? No? Italy?
I know.
How many?
2,500.
2,500. Look. We have 400 of them. And the most of them are quite small, actually, and some of them are quite big and iconic. We say we have around 50 bigger stations with a big station building on it as well. We invest around 330 million each year, and that's for improving the stations, but also maintaining the stations as such. We have, luckily, very high rate of how the passengers esteem our stations, and we are working on that every day, and I will tell you a little bit about that in the next few minutes. So my team tries to provide safe, comfortable and attractive train stations. We try to seduce passengers to our train stations, knowing that the complete sense of traveling is being influenced for 25% by the train stations. You know, we have a lot of impact with the train stations on getting people out of their cars and into our trains. So this is a key element in the whole industry, the stations, to get people, to seduce people into the trains and into the public transport. Let me just see. I'll do some quick ones. Right. If we know that 20% of, at least in Holland, 20% of all carbon emission is being produced by traveling by car, traveling by trucks, 20%. Knowing that, you also know that we can have a big impact by getting people in the train. So that's the main thing we do. And what we do is we look at a station and how can we seduce our passengers as best as possible. First of all, we divide the station in different areas, not spacious areas, but I mean in areas where you have different kind of purposes. So you have purposes where you can stay and meet people. You have purposes where you have to travel. You have purposes where it's busy, where it's quiet. All these different purposes you have in a train station. And we learned from a recent research in 21 that the travelers, not only, but also the people living around a station have 5 needs. And these needs are very personal, and they have to be there at every station. So every station has to be sociable. Every station has to have some surprise elements for travelers. And of course, they have to be safe, and etc. But these are the key elements in order to seduce passengers into the public transport. The latter one, the awareness being healthy and sustainable, is quite a new need we see among travelers and people living around stations. That is something we didn't see 5 years ago. It's really a new element. People want to be and they want to feel that they live healthy and they contribute to a better world. So that's what you can do, what you can show during a travel and on a station. So that's quite a new one. We try to fulfill these needs in order to seduce the passengers. And we do that by looking at 2 sets of purposes. One set is how you make an ideal connection between the different modalities, so the intermodality. The other one is the comfort, is to maximize the comfort on a station. If you look at the first one, so that means the connection between the different networks. It's very important that you can take a bus, a bike, etc., that you have the right information, that it's comfortable and safe around the station. So that's maybe the network connection focus. And I could talk about this for hours on each little bullet, but I won't do it. But this is just the way we think. The other thing I said is that we look at the comfort of a station for all the travelers. And also here I could talk about every bullet for an hour, but I think it's quite clear that you have to have sufficient services. There has to be good waiting areas. It must be clear how to find your way through a station. You can have some shopping, you can have a coffee, you can have a toilet, and you have this information on your app. It was said previously during the panel discussion this morning. In the Netherlands we have this app where all TOCs and all bike sharing systems, car sharing systems, you can find them in one app. So it's really important for the traveler to have a seamless traveling. So this is what we do, and how we do it is quite in a holistic approach. This word was heard earlier this morning. In the Netherlands we have the so-called polder model, which means that everybody is included in every subject. That makes it a very complex thing, but it's the only way, we think. And in the Netherlands we have at this point a very strategic approach from the Ministry of Transport, who started a program in which we have made, together with all the parties involved, a vision of the future of the stations in 2040. And that is made, this vision is made by all communities, by governments, central government, provinces, the TOCs, ProRail of course, and with all these parties we have made this vision on what is needed on stations in the future, in the hubs of the future. And there's a model we've made, and this model can be plotted on each station, and each station can thus be fulfilled with how is it now and what is the future, what is the gap, so what is needed to be done. And that's been done now for 400 stations in the Netherlands. We've made this gap analysis, and with this gap analysis we also know which station needs to be refurbished, enlarged, which station has to be made more green, whatever. And the exciting stuff is now yet to come, because now we of course have to prioritize which station will be first, which station is needed first. And this will be a big battle between the communities and the central government and ProRail of course. When will we take which station? So that's a little bit how we do it, and where we stand. What do we see? We see with working the way we do the last years, we see that the rate of our stations have increased with 20%, so the customer satisfaction of our stations have increased with 90%, to be honest. We see that the amount of travelers are back in track, so we're at this point at the same level as we were before the pandemic, but we are growing steadily, and in 2030 we have a growth of 30% of passengers traveling. And that's mainly because of growth of the amount of people living in the Netherlands. So we are just growing. So that's the reason. Sorry? Population is growing. Thank you. We also see that the amount of car and kilometers driven by car are increasing. So that's not a good sign. We do see that more of them are getting an electric car. That's okay, but we need to really decrease the amount of people in the cars and getting them in the public transport or an electric car. But that is really needed to get to the goals we have all talked about with each other, 2050 and even 2030. So that's where we stand now. So there's still a lot of work to be done together.
Thank you, Astrid. That's a great way to kick off the conversation. I think we said attract passengers, but I think we should have used seduce. I prefer the word that you're using there. It's, we're sort of summoning them into, in this really exciting space. And I think it's really interesting how huge an impact a station can have on the overall experience. So thank you for kicking that off. We'll come to you now, Johan, if that's all right. So while they're changing the slides and getting your presentation up, perhaps you could introduce yourself and your business.
Yes, so I'm
could you please, my video is blocked, so if you find a host.
Johan, we just got slightly confusing. We've got two Johans. So I'm sorry about that. And I forgot you were there. But we will come to you next, if that's okay. So just hold on. Thank you.
All right. Sorry for that, Johan. And I'm Johan. Johan Berhin. I'm a designer. I had the opportunity 10 years ago of designing the space of Stockholm Central Station, the waiting area there, and the waiting area furniture there. And with that great customer, which actually was on Johan, the other Johan's side here, you'll maybe mention that later on. That great demanding customer, we found a solution that brought happiness into the stations, modularly, well, if you want happiness in a box. I could show you a few images just to put you on the same page there, and really what I want to share with you is the power of what happened and why that happened, sort of the theory of bringing in happiness. So let's see if we have do we have a slide there? Or should I press the button? So I can keep talking. It's nice weather outside. No, really, what it's all about, it's about using nature. We call it biophilic design. So using natural materials, using natural shapes, both in small, in the details, in the body size, and in the room's size, working like nature. And that, I wasn't aware of that happening when I designed for Stockholm Central Station. But now, looking at it afterwards, let's go back one step. This is, oh, I see it there, but not there. So we're seeing a picture of London Bridge Station before. Not over there, no. Anyway, so with biophilic design, using nature as a designer, we saw this tremendous effect from London Bridge Station, for example, where we installed the furniture overnight. It went from 30% satisfaction on waiting areas to 80% overnight. I think you should all come over here. No? Okay. Maybe that's possible. Yeah, so I'll keep talking. I'll show you the images afterwards. I'm sure they'll work it out. So, here it comes. Oh, yes. Looking at this station, this was before. This was London Bridge Station before we got the opportunity of working with it. And it's a prized architecture. The building as such, it's a great architecture. But somewhere the money or the attention wasn't enough to get down to people. And you can tell from the image that people don't really want to be there. So we're the only... Maybe I should borrow your thing. See if it works better. No? Can we have the next slide, maybe? Mouse. Yeah. So this is what it looked. This is where you go, wow. This was the next day, overnight, using natural material, natural shapes, and obtaining the effect of satisfaction from 30 to 80% overnight. And really with a behavioral pattern changing. People move slower. People come a little bit earlier to the train. People get a coffee, get a newspaper, sit down for a little while. And that's the whole difference to satisfaction of the travelers, but also the whole difference to the business of the station. So here are a few other images. I'll be quick on those now. What stations can look like using biophilic design. A place for all, also for the kids. And like this. And this is what you see in the image here is from London Waterloo station at the night of installation. What was there before to the left and what we put in to the right. So the difference is remarkable, and probably what we have solved is making something maintainable and nice. So it hasn't really been a focus or a belief that something could be nice in a station environment like that, because it needs to be functional as well. So that's the key that we have found, so making something maintainable. So I'll leave it there. I think satisfaction, I told you about this, and that also brings inclusion, a place for all, inline, showing that we're also with colors. This is from London Waterloo, installed just a few months ago. And this all brings a good retail situation as well. And I'll hand over to you there, Sebastien, as retail is in your heart, and let's talk about the retail situation.
Yep. Thank you, Johan. And I'm quite happy because I am one of your clients, so I can testify for you. In the meantime, we are waiting for my presentation because I believe, and we have it. Wow, I'm lucky. So, I am Sebastien de Rose. I'm the Chief Operating Officer of Grandi Stazioni Retail, Grandi Stazioni Retail in Italiano. As you can hear, I am not Italian, I'm French, with my terrific accent. And I have a background which is not the background of the rail industry. It's true, I have to admit, I am from the shopping center industry. So experience is something I have in my DNA. Just a quick word, just quickly, just to explain who we are. If I can go, yeah. So Grandi Stazioni, the particularity, we are a 100% private company. We don't belong to any public company. We don't belong to Trenitalia, to Ferrovie dello Stato. We are a 100% private company. Grandi Stazioni Retail is in reality, we bought the concession of the 14 largest stations of Italy in 2016, end of 2016. It belongs to three investment funds that you can see on the slide, Anderton, Borletti, Camap. As I said, if we go to the following slide, this private company runs the concession of the 14 biggest stations. I don't know if we can go to the following slide because it doesn't work, my things. Don't know, this way? Remote control. So we run the 14 biggest stations of Italy, meaning the main one, Rome, from Rome to Naples, to Turin, to Milan, to Florence, to Venice, all the best touristic destination of Italy. It represents 750 million people per year on the total network, so it's quite an important number. We have the exclusivity, so meaning in our concession, we have the exclusivity of leasing, which means all the retail activity in stations. We have the exclusivity of temporary stores. So we have pop-up stores in station in order to speed up offer rotation and create surprise for the travelers arriving in station. We have the exclusivity of media advertising and events in station, and the exclusivity regarding services. So we manage basically everything except travelers, trains, infrastructure. It represents 14 stations, 800 commercial units, more than 2,000 media assets, meaning digital screen station. And we are based in, well, we have the 14 station in the 11 biggest cities of Italy with 25 pop-up stores. We cover the whole country from north to south, east-west. Our vision is to promote the sustainable transport, which is the train transport. This is our vision. We want to work on the experience in station in order to promote this way of transportation. As you can see, since the beginning, every year we developed and we delivered a project in order to improve the customer experience in our stations. We will talk later on regarding more in detail regarding this project. We also have the vision of introduce the city into our station. So we organized in our station, we organized, for instance, the design show of some fashion designer. We organized the exhibition. You can see a Bansky exhibition we organized in our station, in 4 stations we have on the network. We organized special event with Vinokilo, which is a German player, probably you know in Germany, and we don't have my presentation anymore. I don't know if you can go back to my presentation. No. Sorry for that. It will be very fast, just to explain what we did for the pathing 5 years. And then I leave the keyboard. Okay, so just to explain what we've done and what is the vision we have, we are investing a lot to refurbish the customer experience in our stations. We open our stations to outside, to the immediate surrounding area. We're trying to open stations to the citizens living around the station. We're trying to make the station a main actor of the city. If we go to the next slide, because it doesn't work, we go fast. Probably if we can go fast. Let me know. Okay, here you can see the refurbishment project of the station of Milan. So the trying to improve the wayfinding, improve the visibility of retail, improve the ambience, making the station more comfortable, working on the valorization of the architecture. In the meantime, we do something which is more modern, and we valorize the services into the station. If we go to the following slide, you can see again the station of Milan with a specific food destination. We are working a lot on bringing into stations a high-quality food offer, which is the quality you can find in high street in downtown, because we want the station, we have marvelous architecture, we have iconic building, we want the station to be a place to be. So we bring high level of design, we bring high level of services and high level of quality for food, for instance. If you go to the following slide, you can see Milano Centrale again with a food hall we opened last year, which now a huge success. This is a destination for the old town. So the old town of Milan and the whole area, the region, entire region is coming every weekend, every night to this destination, food destination, which is very trendy, very hype. You have a DJ during the weekend. You have 35 bottega of different food offer. If you go to the following slide, We did the same in Naples, where we refurbished the station. We go to the following slide, please, quickly, so I can leave the keyboard. As you can see next, because this is again the refurbishment. We did the same in Napoli. We developed a proper food hall destination with high quality food offer into the food hall. It is now again Naples. This station and this destination is a proper destination for the region. We did the same in Turin. You can see the furniture of Johan on the pictures. Same. We transformed the station as a proper destination for the city center, bringing a lot of quality. And then now we are working on Rome, which is the second biggest station in terms of footfall in Europe, to 200 million people per year. We are in the middle of the project. We already delivered the flagship of Nike into the station, and we are refurbishing totally the customer experience, bringing high quality level of services. You can see another bar we just delivered a few months ago to highlight the architecture and the story of the city, which is now a touristic destination in Rome. So this is more or less what we do. Sorry for the for the mess. But we'll talk later on.
Thank you so much. They're really beautiful stations, aren't they? And I think they're just places where you do want to spend time in. I think that's kind of what we're hearing today about how you can really make them places that you want to spend time in. We're going to come to our fourth panelist and second Johan. Hopefully, thank you for your patience, Johan Gunnarsson, who is a business developer at Jernhusen. Are you there, Johan?
Yeah, I'm with you.
Great. We can hear you loud and clear. Perhaps if you could just introduce yourself a little bit about Jernhusen and perhaps comment about what you've heard today and about what you're doing in Sweden to make stations attractive for passengers.
Yeah. First, as I do my introduction, if you want, you could exactly enable my video. Good. So hopefully you can see me now also.
We can see you, yes, and the beautiful background as well.
Do I recognize that room? It's actually the Royal Drinking Hall at Stockholm Central Station. It's not used very often, but last month the royal family used it. So, but otherwise, it's not the most commonly used area of our station. But me, probably some of you have met my colleague Paul van Lommink. He usually participates in those kind of events, but like him, I'm also a strategist at Jernhusen, and my focus is leading and developing the sustainable value creation within our company. That includes making our properties and buildings future fit, all that comes with the EU taxonomy and climate change adaptation, mitigation, and so on, but also the social aspects of our operations to make our stations attractive and make sure that no one gets hurt when they are in contact with our operation or our properties. And of course, that all should lead to propel public travel and transport by rail. Yeah, and I was glad about that you in Holland that you or in the Netherlands that you were like a surprise the travelers and visitors to the station. So that's not value word that we use, but I really clearly understand how you would like to make the station experience into an experience really. We have when we work with the station areas and the stations, we have a tool station environment and how that should be well functioning, including sitting areas and the flows and so on, and how we should make it attractive to travelers. And for us, that is clean and everything is functioning. Everything is functioning is also very important. It's also about the mix of services and products and so on that helps the travelers in their daily life, but also a very important part of the station experience, and that we think that will make the station an attractive area. We also would like to link the station to the city. The station should really be a part of not only the mobility services and surrounding transport opportunities, but also a part of the city really. So you get the life almost the day around to make the station area very attractive. So we have those 5 value propositions, and that they are like divided into 12 quality objectives or goals that we measure. And we do that by using another set of indicators that we use to evaluate those qualities and make sure that we really deliver on those qualities that we like offer the travelers and visitors to our stations. I think some of the examples we have before, they are just into our fits perfectly into our setting, and the furniture. I saw at least one picture from Stockholm Station with those new benches that we can also confirm are very popular among the travelers.
Okay, thank you, Johan, and it's great to hear you. Thank you. I'm so glad you're able to join us, at least digitally. So I think we'll open a bit of a debate. So if the audience want to think about what questions, we already have a question. Then we'll get the mic for you. And so while the mic's on its way, I think I've heard like all the things, the kind of investments that you guys are making in their stations. Food, especially in Italy, I can see how that works, and the high quality food offering, and so I'd like to sort of hear more from the panel about what kind of investments could be made that have a real value. But I think if you want to go ahead and ask your question, go ahead.
I have a question to Johan from the video. You mentioned that you have a different approach than the Netherlands, as Mrs. Astrid Bunt mentioned. It was not clear to me what the difference is, because all in all I had the feeling you have a very similar approach. Yeah, can you clarify that a little bit?
It's very similar, but it was the surprise factor that we don't really have as a value that we would like to bring to the travelers. So I think that was interesting. That could be an interesting addition for us.
Okay, thank you.
Can I comment on that?
Go ahead.
Yeah. From the airport industry, then it's been shown that if you can wow your passengers, they'll be not only more satisfied, but they'll also be more loyal and more receptive. So it's really a high value of that surprise, and even more if you can wow them. And if you can then find a wow that is developing over time, there you have the perfect solution, I think. So it's great power of surprise.
Yeah, and I think just to add, I think we do have the same approach on the basic level, like a safe, secure, accessible, etc., etc. I think these are all over Europe, at least, they are the same. But in the way of looking at passengers and how to get them in, how to seduce them, there we can learn, I think, a lot from each other. Also from the Italian food thing, yeah.
We are not doing just food. Huh?
You also have coffee.
The best one. No, just to go back to our discussion, the train industry, the people present here today into this room, they do a lot to attract passengers every day. Massive investment. In Italy, for instance, the government and Ferrovie dello Stato has a plan of more than 25 billion euros investment in infrastructure to modernize and to keep working on the high-speed development, high-speed train development. This is huge. There is us on our level. We are trying to add our stone on the edifice. We are trying to help the industry working on the experience. The experience is not food. It is true, but we believe that investing into a station, you have to make a station which is not anymore a passing through. It has to be a station you enjoy to stay more time. You enjoy to join and to meet with your friends. The station has always been a very important actor in a city from the beginning. We need to give back to the station this original role. So this is the reason why we are investing a lot in very qualitative food offer, and we are bringing the city into the station. So it has to be a place to be. Then we are not doing just that, but this is a good demonstration of a good investment to attract new passengers, because in the last 5 months, since September 2021, so no more than 8 months, we opened more than 50,000 square meters of new food destination in our stations, very qualitative, and we noticed a very important shift into traffic in our station. Our stations before, and if you compare today, we have a traffic during the weekend which is doubled compared to before. So you can see what can be the power of doing that kind of investment on the station, because obviously you're going to tell to me, but it is not just passengers. It is people from the city, it's true. It's also people from the region, it's true. But it's changing the mind of people, the mindset of people. This is what we are trying to do. We are trying to change the mindset of people, to explain to people that the station is not a passing through anymore. It's a place to be. And like that, we are trying to convince the remaining people using still their car to use the station in a normal way, and because now we are useful for them, we are useful. So this is what we're trying to do with food, but we do it also with other offers. We are trying.
Well, and I think another positive side effect is that by earning money on the stations, you can use this money also for improving the infrastructure. So there's another benefit also from gaining money from shops and from restaurants, etc. So you can reuse the money.
Yeah.
Yes, hello. Thanks again for the presentations. I was glad to see these beautiful stations in the Netherlands, which I've been seeing close by for many years. But with the increase and the transformation of stations to become more than just a hub to travel, it also raises the question about social safety on stations. So I'm curious if one of the panelists could elaborate on that a little bit more, on how they deal with social safety, knowing that it will increase the amount of travelers, or I would say people, because I think in the nearby future it's not only travelers, but I think they're all people all just visiting stations for the facilities and the fact that they're enjoying staying there. And also, if you look at these presentations, you get a feeling, well, it looks like we're reaching an end of station development, but I can imagine that there are future plans on, so what's the next level, what's the next step in station development, which would contribute to passenger engagement and being more attractive.
I can talk about security in the The thing is that the station has to take part of, has to have the responsibility of doing the investment outside the station. And this is what we tried to do. If you look at the pictures I shown before, we improved a lot the security of the area around our stations, doing investment around station, opening the station to the outside, putting around the station services dedicated to the city. And investing into refurbishment of the immediate surrounding area of the station and opening station with commercial activity to outside. This first of all, has been, as a result, a far more better feeling of security around our station, because we don't see anymore the vandals we had before, because you have commercial activity, because you have a requalification of the area, so you don't see anymore the vandals activity. This is the first. This is the way we solved this issue in our station, and it worked basically in Naples, Milan. Currently, we are investing on Rome. It worked very well. This is and I believe this is not just investing into the station regarding the experience into the station. The experience begins as soon as you get to the station, so outside the station, and it is the responsibility of the station to do the job.
I would like to add on that, because I think it's a really good question, Robert. And I'm not so worried about the social security on the bigger stations, actually. I'm more worried about the social security on the smaller stations, where there's not a lot to do and where youngsters are being bored. In those situations, it's very important to collaborate with the community regarding police interaction, cameras, etc., and more social activities for the youngsters. So actually, I'm not so worried about the bigger stations. Then you had another question that's on future developments on stations. I think the most important thing is that we have to think about our planet, and that means that we, first of all, always have to ask the question, is a station needed? Do we need a station here? Do we need to make it bigger, or maybe we don't need it at all? What's the real issue here? So it always starts with that. And then making the stations as flexible as possible, because we really don't know how the stations will be needed in 40 years. We really don't know. So it's important that we think about other use of stations, making, what I said, flexible, making them smaller quite easily, making them bigger quite easily. So those are, for me, the two subjects that come to mind. If you ask me what are future things to think about, it's really the modularity and the flexibility, and the question of sustainability. How do we make our stations more sustainable? And is a station actually really needed? Is there another way of transporting people? Train is not always the solution, I would like to say.
Yeah, I like how you say also the smaller stations, and where you may have a bigger problem because they're little people. And if you can make those attractive, there will be people. And also there will be money, because that vandalism that happens and that unsecurity costs money. We had an example from Sweden, Johan, you may be familiar with it, of Strängnäs, city of Strängnäs, where they had a lot of vandalism. And the money that the vandalism cost was put into making the station environment nicer, project that we were part of. And so far, fingers crossed, it's not vandalized anymore. So there can be, if you give, you do it in a good way, you bring in people, you bring in movement, and travelers will be there, which means that the vandals will go somewhere else.
You have this beautiful initiative in the United Kingdom. It's called community stations. Are you familiar with that?
Yes, I am. Yes, absolutely. So it's a real grassroots movement actually, where communities often adopt a station. So friends of a certain station, and so will often take charge of planting and murals and really engage the community. So those smaller stations can be real gems to sort of engage local communities to really own their own local space. So thank you for bringing it up. And Johan Gunnarsson, would you like to sort of add to that debate before we start to close?
Yeah, you talked about investments, and I think investing in relationship with other stakeholders in the station areas. That could be like the police, different NGOs, the surrounding real estate, property owners, and everyone that has an interest in the areas around the stations. So if you build solid relationships and maybe also formalize them into agreements with some parties, you really can build a strong society to build both this safety and security, but also prevent the negative aspects with vandalism and so on that we heard about before. So social investments, I would say, could be one of the major investment areas.
Yeah, thank you. I think that's a really interesting point, that sort of with often thinking about what a station looks like, what's in it, what the services are, but really the relationship with the city and the community is so huge and has a big difference. So thank you for raising that. And so I'll come to each. I think that's a really great way of saying what's a real big impact investment for stations for you. And I'll ask the rest of the panel, perhaps just as we close, if you were to pick one sort of real exciting place to invest to really transform your stations, what do you think's got the biggest impact? Astrid, where would you go?
It's quite an impossible question, but well, I would first say it depends, because you really have to look at each station individually. Each station has a different demand, but I think that's a little bit boring answer. So let me just think. Well, I think the collaboration thing, what Johan said, I really feel with that. We work very close together with NS stations in the Netherlands. And by improving that relationship, we really are doing something better on the stations outside. So I would focus on that. And a very personal one is I would like to add more green to stations. So more plants, more trees, make each station a park, a public park.
Quite agree. Okay, Sebastien, how would you answer that?
As I said before, so far the best thing we did is this investment into having a more qualified and qualitative food offer and proper destination in order to better organize the wayfinding in stations, because you know exactly where you go, and the quality, we are very cautious regarding quality of brands we are bringing in stations. It is something we are very, very rigid. This is the brands and the partners we want to work with. There is probably something else today we are touching since a few months, because at the exit of this crisis, if you can say, this pandemic period, there is a big acceleration in digital, as you can know. There is a big acceleration in consuming. The online is now a key in our life for consumers. And in online, which is key, is delivery. At the exit of the crisis, we started to work with some brands in order to structure because the big advantage we have in the station is the footfall, obviously, the natural footfall, and the huge amount of logistic surface we have in stations. And we are now working with our partner, with our brands, and we are not talking about food, but we are talking about non-food, so fashion industry, cosmetic industry, to have in our stations surface with the maximum optimization of the sales surface into the station, and we offer, and we develop with them, we offer a storage surface which is far bigger than normally they have to have. Why? Because we work with them to stress on the click and collect in station. And having a huge surface of storage, they can develop the concept of black store, which is a new concept for online industry. And they can speed up the rotation of their product into the station, into the store. So we are trying to transform the station as something which is more phygital, to approach the concept of having the physical retail with the online retail together, and it works quite well, because we believe that the best place for sustainability is to speed up on click and collect and not on delivery. And we believe that the best place to do this is the station, which is the place where you pass through every day. So this is something new. We went a little bit further on because we developed also our own logistic organization. So we proposed to brands into our station that we take care of their product, we take care of their store, of their storage. We share a surface of storage with other brands, and this is our people filling up the store every day on demand. So it allows the brand to lower the cost of employee and to lower the cost of surface they rent into the station. So it's also another way we are working on, always in the vision of spinning up the pushing hard on the click and collect into the station, having a station which is over more useful for people.
Thank you.
Yeah, I would invest in biophilic impact. I'd invest in, you can compare it with a piano player. A piano player is also something biophilic, something place-making, and picking up on what you said, Astrid, with greenery. That's also biophilic. It's bringing the satisfaction into the station, and that brings the people, that brings then also the retail, and that whole well-being and central point of the community of the stations.
Okay, well, we are out of time, so I'll draw this session to a close. I think we've heard, it's such an exciting place, isn't it, the stations? I think there's whole new sort of invention of the station that I'm hearing. So, and new needs that are coming. So new digital needs, the idea of it being a place for click and collect, but also a place where people need to feel that they're part of a sustainable journey, and to be able to feel that and see that when they come into a station. And biophilic design is one of those great ways to sort of give that impression. But also that kind of that need to integrate better into the cities and the communities and engage better with those, bringing the city into the station, I heard, but also kind of the station spreading out into the city, and really so those boundaries are quite are less distinct, both in relationships and also physically. So really interesting discussion about how we are seducing our passengers into the station. So thank you. Round of applause, please, for my lovely panel.